Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight.
The Foreign Affairs Minister addresses concerns about the recently revealed Dominican policy.
The Teachers Union president is demanding to hear the strategy behind bringing students from Dominica into the school system.
Some hurricane evacuees now expressing outrage over shelter conditions.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Topping news tonight, despite having limited means, the Bahamas must do whatever it can to assist the people of Dominica after their country was leveled by monster storm Maria. That's according to Foreign Affairs Minister Henfield, who joins a growing list of cabinet ministers who support Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis' pledge to welcome Dominican students and Dominicans with relatives in the Bahamas. Jasmine Brown reports.
The Foreign Affairs Minister fired back at those critics, insisting helping those residents is simply the right thing to do.
I fully support our position to do whatever we can to assist Dominica in its time of need. Dominica is a member of the Caribbean and CARICOM community of which we are a part, and by the grace of God, there go we. And so, no, I think we're doing as best as we can to help and assist.
Minnis' pledge came on Sunday, moments after he met with Dominican Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit at Jet Aviation. His comments sparked national debate, with some arguing that the Bahamas has its own issues to overcome, including rebuilding Ragged Island, which was deemed uninhabitable following the passage of Hurricane Irma. When asked to respond to that argument, Henfield acknowledged that the Bahamas is not in the best financial position.
If you observe the wind, you will never sow. I think no country is in a position, especially in the Caribbean, to be able to offer the kind of financial assistance that is required among Caribbean brothers and sisters now. But whatever we can do to help, I think we should do.
Hurricane Maria lashed Dominica last week as a Category 5 hurricane, ripping off roofs, severing telecommunications, and devastating the small island, killing 15 people. Skerrit said the move to accommodate Dominicans will no doubt help many families, as he stressed the situation there is still grave. Despite some pushback, Immigration Minister Brent Simonet said on Sunday that helping Dominica is the Christian thing to do. Henfield agreed.
The world is changing all around us, and we're going to have to change with the times. We're going to have to learn to be our brothers' keepers. And it's a good Christian thing and the right thing, I think, to do.
While the logistics of the plan are still being worked out, Henfield admits it is a huge undertaking.
We're going to have to work at the modalities of these issues, of course. There's education, there's immigration, there's probably social services as well. And so, you know, we look forward to doing whatever we can within our limited means to assist the people of Dominica.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson, is calling for the powers that be to be practical and to have a plan in terms of integrating students from the island of Dominica that was devastated by Hurricane Maria. Wilson says while it is our Christian duty, we must not overextend ourselves. Here's George O'Bain.
With the public school system already facing several challenges, including an insufficient amount of teachers and furniture and overpopulated classrooms, Bahamas Teachers Union President Belinda Wilson says the idea of adopting students from Dominica has received mixed reviews.
The Prime Minister told reporters yesterday it is his goal to have displaced Dominican students arrive in the Bahamas as soon as possible. However, Wilson says before that happens, teachers have several questions.
As to how many students are we looking at, for how long, what are the demographics of the students, their age, their gender, their grade levels. I want to also know who will be funding this project. I'm also concerned about the parents. Are the parents going to be vetted? Are the parents going to be working?
A major concern, according to Wilson, is that the Bahamian school system and Dominica's school system are very different.
Although they have the same core subjects as we do, English and mathematics and science, their examinations are different. How is it that they're going to amalgamate with our system, or is there going to be facilities made available to them to be able to have school isolated by themselves?
Other questions posed by the teachers union are, will there be a language barrier? How quickly will these papers be made available by the Department of Immigration? And will this cause strife between students in the Bahamas who have faced challenges in the public education system?
Students, not only of Haitian descent, but non-Bahamian students are to have a student permit. However, the details of that are still vague, so that now with the discussion of the Dominica students, that now broadens the scope of the discussion, not only for education, but also for immigration. But the majority of migrants into Dominica are actually Haitians. Haitians are the largest percentage of their migrants, and they speak the French patois or Creole.
Wilson also wants to know if displaced Dominican teachers are also invited to work in the Bahamas.
Because you would know that we have a teacher shortage. We have a oversized, overcrowded classrooms. We have a shortage of furniture, desks and chairs, not only for the students, but even teachers, desks and chairs. But at this time, I'm prepared to give the Minister of Education and the Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt. And I hope that in short order, we will be invited to a meeting so that we will know the short, the medium, and the long-term plan.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
Leader of opposition business in the Senate, Fred Mitchell, says the government has far too many questions to answer before the PLP can determine whether the decision to invite Dominicans was a good or bad idea. Mitchell said Bahamians deserve a thorough explanation as to the Prime Minister's plans and vision for the venture.
The bottom line for the PLP is let's hear the details. Let us know what this is about in detail.
The jury's still out on the Prime Minister's offer to Dominican students, according to former Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell, who says while it is a kind gesture, there needs to be an explanation as to what exactly is the plan.
As I said, one wants to be very careful because you don't want to be jingoistic and you don't want to do anything which denigrates other people and their nationalities. But of course, the primary interest is always the Bahamas. The Dominicans themselves gave a generous gift to the Bahamas in the middle of a hurricane. So it may be that there's some aspects of relief that perhaps ought to be offered. But in this particular matter, the government needs simply to say what is it they envisage, what is it they intend, and how are they going to execute it. And I would just say to Bahamians too, the jury is still out, and let's consider carefully what we say.
Considering members of the opposition traveled with the government during hurricane assessment trips and meetings, Mitchell said he was surprised the opposition wasn't consulted before such a big decision was made.
We really can't say yes or no on any of this because the decision making, we're not part of it. Nothing was shared with us about what the government intends. You would have thought that given that this is involved in hurricanes and hurricane relief and all this stuff about cooperation on hurricane measures, that the opposition would have been brought into some form of consultation to say, look, this is what we envisage to help out in the Caribbean, and what do you think?
As for the uproar surrounding the decision, Mitchell said it was the FNM that planted the seed on the campaign trail.
And there's a tremendous pushback from what I can detect in the society about this. And largely, this is driven in part by the work that the FNM did prior to the general election, firing up the xenophobia in the country.
He said when Parliament resumes on Wednesday, the opposition will be raising a number of questions on the issue. Mitchell said what the Prime Minister must avoid is having the country seen in a bad light.
And the last thing we would want is for the Prime Minister of Dominica or his citizens to be in any way embarrassed because the Bahamas government made a decision which was hasty and not properly consulted and not properly thought about.
In other news, after spending nearly 3 weeks in shelters in New Providence, residents of Evacuees returned home today to finally see firsthand the damage caused by Hurricane Irma. April Sands reports.
Well, the last group of evacuees now headed back into Evacuees, some more excited than others after expressing a frustrating time while at shelters in the capital.
You're not going to abandon me. I aim to take care of you. Yeah. You're going to please have the same passage and tell me again, okay?
Those Evacuees evacuees highly upset this morning as they prepare to head back home after spending weeks in New Providence shelters. Some Salina Point residents say their stay in the capital was disappointing.
Some of the social workers' attitude was really poor.
They was treating us bad with the food. It's like they bring them a 30 plate and it's like 100 us. And the people who left the shelter,
they wash the cups over for us to use. They wash the forks over for us to use. We were treated like animals.
And they didn't do it from the workers. The social service attitude, they stink. We were handled bad. They talked to our children, shouting at our children.
I must say we were treated harsh and mean, and when we talk, they say, oh, y'all ungrateful. Ungrateful for what? We are grateful to God, the Almighty, and Miriam Emmanuel, who was up and down throughout this whole stay with us.
But that wasn't the only concern for residents. They also mentioned a concern of the shelter they'll stay at while back at home.
A shelter with no running water, no water at all. No current in the shelter. Where are we supposed to stay with our small children?
Assistant Director of Social Services Salome Gibson says while she has no control how those residents feel, she understands fleeing a storm and spending weeks away from home can be a stressful experience.
During the time they were here, I think they were well cared for. I know they were well cared for. But of course, it is difficult for them who have to leave, who left their home now, it's like 2 weeks, and now to just be going. They're not sure what they would meet when they get back home.
As those residents headed home, Director of the National Emergency Management Agency, Commander Stephen Russell, says due to the significant damage to their homes, they will be housed in shelters on that island until restoration efforts get underway.
Once they return to Acklands, the administrator and his council in Acklands will eventually transport them back to the district of Salina Point, some 40 miles from the Spring Point Airport, to allow them to go and see what's remaining of their home, or to see the condition of their home. And tomorrow we'll have teams from the Ministry of Works, our technical team, NRU, and social services that will go through the districts while people are there to really see the condition of their homes, to see how they can best help them resettle back into their homes. Where the homes have been compromised to a certain extent, shelters are being prepared nearby so they can go to those shelters while they get the necessary assistance to help them bring the home up to some livable state.
Reporting for our news, I'm April Sands.
Minister of National Security Marvin Dame says the Minister administration is looking at integrating body cams into the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Dame says the aim is to make officers more accountable while also modernizing the force.
Where we're looking to go to as a government, and certainly the police force as an organization, because one of the things that we would have discussed is the introduction of a body cam for police officers. It shows us certainly where some of the deficiency lies, and where we can now begin to look so that when we conduct our training, these sorts of things are incorporated.
Dame's comments come after a motorcycle officer was caught on video buying beer and cigarettes while in uniform. It is unclear if the officer was on duty at the time. Police have since launched an internal investigation into the video that has gone viral.
These are things that organizations like the police force have been dealing with for many years. You know, the only thing is now the world that we're living in today, it's almost instant. It goes viral in a minute. And so the police force certainly, they're cognizant of it. They are aggressively investigating it. And at the end of the day, we'll make a determination.
Still to come on our news, the Teachers Union raises concerns about Stephen Dillett's school students. The details are after this break.